I grabbed one of these carvable pumpkins from Michael's. We can take a knife. I like to use serrated. It's a little bit safer in my opinion. There's a seam. So I'm just going to trace that entire seam all the way around and split this pumpkin into two. I'm going to start at the top and poke my knife in. And just like carving a real pumpkin, there's two things to note. Do it in small pieces or small increments, and also to be very, very careful. We do not want to cut ourselves. Now that we've cut all the way through the pumpkin, when we let go, it splits into two, which is exactly what we want. Now I have a little brick of leftover styrofoam, and I'm just going to add some hot glue using my glue skillet and a scrap stem right to the top. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to place it close towards the stem, and we can build an arrangement right on top of this. Now I have some beautiful sunflowers, and you can find all sorts of flowers, greenery, and ribbon from nicksseasonaldecor.com. All I'm going to do is I'm going to snip off each flower individually. I'll just dip the flowers into hot glue and poke them right into the styrofoam. I start with one up top, then we're going to place one on either side, and then our final one will go right in the middle. Now we also have the leaves that came off of those sunflowers, and for these we can also just snip off and we can use these as filler. And we can just take those and work them right into the styrofoam as well. And after coming back in with just a few of those leaves, it definitely bulked up this design and covered up a lot of that styrofoam. So from here on out, we're not really trying to cover our mechanics. We're more so just trying to accent it with various other flowers and greenery. Before we add anything else, I do want to work in a simple little bow. So all I'm going to do is a bow tie. We're going to create one loop, have one long tail hanging down below, create a second loop, and another long tail down below. Then we're going to take a wire and just secure our little bow tie together. Now we're going to take our bow and place it on one side. Doesn't matter which side, whichever one you prefer. Now I'm just taking some more leftover greenery and just tucking it in. We've already worked those broadleaf sunflower leaves in. After filling in with your greenery, you can fluff your bow out again, adjust, and see if there's any bare spots where you can come back in with an extra piece or two. The perk of this design is when you flip it over, your wreath hook, command strip, you name it, will sit perfectly flat here, and there's no need to add an extra hanger. Of course, if you would like to, you can absolutely create a little hook, but I actually just tried this out and it hangs perfectly fine. And here's how it looks, you guys. I absolutely love it on my wall. You can place this around picture frames. You can have this on your front door. You can use this as a wreath. You could use this as wall decor, you name it. And pumpkins come in all different sizes, shapes, and colors. Of course, you do want to make sure that you're using a hollow one. But other than that, just cut your pumpkin in half, add some flowers, a little bit of greenery, and maybe even a little bow, and you have a beautiful fall display.
Run to your dollar store and grab some of these fantastic pumpkins. You can also pick up some flowers and a decorative plate. I grabbed a plate that had some colored pumpkins on it. For the first project, I cut the top off of one of the pumpkins. I used a hot glue gun and applied some hot glue to the cut area, and then simply sat the plate on top of it. That was all the work it took for that project. It couldn't get any easier or cuter. Next up, I grabbed another pumpkin, and this time I cut a hole in the center of it. I had to cut it at an angle, angled toward the center, so that I could pull out that first piece. Once that first piece was out, then I trimmed away more so that I could create a uniform space inside. Next, I took my faux flowers and set them inside of the opening of the pumpkin. It was a quick pumpkin decoration that looked really festive and cute. For the final project, I took 3 pumpkins and painted them using a spray paint. I used gold, but of course you can change the look of everything by using a different color. Once the paint was dry, I used skewers that I had and I inserted them into the pumpkins. The advantage of these pumpkins is that they're easy to penetrate with the skewers and easy to cut, as we've seen. Once I had the skewers in, I added some plant foam in between the pumpkins. Next, I added in some more fall leaves and created a tall decorative piece. I played around with the placement and the size of the leaves that I used until I got something that I liked. You could also add in some decorative ribbon along with the leaves and flowers. It's all up to your own imagination. I hope you enjoyed these adorable, inexpensive, easy-to-do fun projects and that you'll try to create some decorations of your own.
You're never going to believe what I turned this pumpkin into. I grabbed a 9-inch hollow craft pumpkin, drew a large arch with 2 smaller ones on either side, and I cut them out with a sharp knife. I glued the pumpkin to a board. I used a thin panel board and then cut it with the jigsaw. You could also use cardboard. Then I applied hot glue to the edge of the arch and filled it with fake moss. Make sure you can fit your hand inside the middle arch, the large one. I also lined the large arch or door with a cute vine from the dollar store. I had some pieces of birch bark and I cut those and used them for shutters on the either sides of the windows. Then I added moss all around the pumpkin. I made a ladder for the side window out of twigs, and I added acorns, pine cones, lots of different faux mosses. I added mushrooms, a gnome, a fairy, and rocks for the front walkway. Now you've turned your pumpkin into a fall fairy house. I hope this inspires you to get creative with your pumpkin this holiday season.
Pick up a couple of carvable fake pumpkins. I'm using a pumpkin carving tool. These are great. They come in a kit and they're really great for fake pumpkins and real ones. I'm starting by printing out my address in big bold numbers, and then I'm going to trace them onto the pumpkins. For the first number in my address, I'm going to actually cut the bottom of the pumpkin and then cut out the number 5. With all the numbers and everything cut out, it's time to start assembling. I'm going to take my fairy lights and just place them inside of each pumpkin with a battery pack hanging out. Then I can stack them on top of one another. The top pumpkin has the hole in the bottom so that the stem is still intact on top. Once I know I have everything exactly how I want it, I'm going to use a little hot glue just to secure the pumpkins to one another. Now I can add a little bit of fall decoration. I've got some faux leaves here, and I'm just going to place these around the pumpkins. I'm also going to place a few faux leaves on the plastic planter that I'm using. And finally, I'm going to hang the battery packs inside the planter, and then I'm going to place the pumpkin topiary on top. Now I've got this really cute address sign that can sit on my front porch for fall. I hope this inspired you to create one for yourself this fall.
Fall has arrived, which means it's time to head to the Dollar Tree. To make my pumpkin look a bit more natural, I first mixed a few shades of brown paint together that I already had on hand and painted the stem. Once the paint was dry, I grabbed all my floral bunches and cut the flowers off the stem using wire cutters, trying to get as close to the back of the flower as I could. Then I removed the plastic backing. This part is optional, but I found it important and helpful in achieving the look I was envisioning. Next, it was time to start applying the flowers to the pumpkin. I started off with my largest flower, added a good amount of hot glue to the back, and placed it on the pumpkin. Then I filled in around that flower with the smaller red, orange, and off-white flowers. I worked around, filling in gaps, and made sure to alternate the colors and sizes of flowers over the entire pumpkin. I made sure to put flowers from the stem all the way to the bottom, leaving space on the very bottom so that the pumpkin sat nicely on a flat surface. Lastly, I tied 2 pieces of curly twine together and hot glued them to the stem of the pumpkin to mimic a vine. I love how cute this floral pumpkin turned out, and I'm so excited to add it to my fall decor collection this year.